Have you ever heard a voice so unbelievable that it made an entire room forget to breathe? What if I told you that a quiet young man from a small fishing village in the Philippines walked onto the America's Got Talent stage, and within seconds Cowell's expression completely changed? Stay with me until the very end because this journey is filled with hope, heartbreak, and a performance that no one expected. Before we begin, if you love inspiring stories about courage, dreams, and unforgettable talent, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss another incredible story. Now, let's begin. The bright lights of America's Got Talent illuminated the stage as thousands of audience members settled into their seats. Excitement filled the theater while cameras moved across the cheering crowd. Behind the stage stood a young Filipino man named Daniel Santos, only 24 years old. He wore a simple navy blue shirt, black jeans, and worn brown shoes that had clearly traveled a long way. His hands trembled slightly as he held the microphone. He wasn't nervous because of the judges. He wasn't afraid of performing before millions of viewers. He was afraid of disappointing the people who believed in him back home. Daniel grew up in a tiny coastal village in the Philippines where life was never easy. His father was a fisherman who woke every morning before sunrise, hoping the sea would be kind enough to provide food for the family. Some days he returned with a full boat. Many days he returned with almost nothing. His mother sold vegetables in the local market, working from dawn until evening under the hot tropical sun. Despite all their struggles, they always smiled and reminded their children that wealth was measured not by money but by love, honesty, and faith. As a little boy, Daniel loved music more than anything else. Their family owned an old radio with cracked speakers that barely worked. Every evening his father would carefully adjust the antenna until distant stations became clear enough to hear. One evening, a song by Elvis Presley floated through the static. Daniel had never heard a voice like that before. Powerful yet gentle. Strong yet emotional. He sat frozen beside the radio, completely mesmerized. From that night on, he became fascinated by Elvis. He couldn't understand every English word, but somehow he understood every emotion. He spent years practicing alone by the ocean, pretending the crashing waves were cheering crowds. The seagulls became his audience. The wind became his orchestra. Children in school laughed whenever he tried to imitate Elvis. Some said he sounded ridiculous. Others joked that nobody in America would ever want to hear a fisherman singing old songs. Daniel smiled through the teasing, but every cruel word quietly settled deep inside his heart. Life became even harder after a powerful typhoon destroyed much of their village. Their small wooden house suffered severe damage. Boats were broken. Fishing nets disappeared into the sea. Daniel left school to help his father rebuild what little remained. Every day he worked under the burning sun carrying lumber, repairing roofs, and helping neighbors who had lost even more than his own family. During those difficult months, music almost disappeared from his life. Survival came first. Dreams had to wait. One evening, after another exhausting day, Daniel sat alone on the beach. The sun slowly disappeared beyond the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and purple. His father quietly sat beside him. "You haven't sung in a long time," his father said softly. Daniel looked down. "Dreams don't feed families." His father smiled. "No. But dreams give families hope." Those words stayed with Daniel forever. Years later, while working at a small seaside restaurant entertaining tourists with old songs, someone secretly recorded one of his performances. The video spread across social media faster than anyone expected. Millions of people were stunned by his rich voice and emotional delivery. Comments poured in from around the world. "Who is this guy? He sounds incredible. He needs to be on America's Got Talent." Daniel couldn't believe what was happening. A producer from AGT eventually contacted him. At first he thought it was a scam. He laughed and ignored the email. Only after receiving another message and a phone call did he finally realize the invitation was real. His entire village celebrated. Neighbors donated money for his passport. Local businesses helped pay travel expenses. Children painted handmade signs wishing him good luck. His mother quietly packed a small Bible into his suitcase. His father hugged him tightly before leaving for the airport. "No matter what happens," his father whispered, "you already made us proud." The flight to America was Daniel's first time on an airplane. Everything felt overwhelming. Giant cities. Endless highways. Massive buildings that seemed to touch the clouds. He wondered whether someone from his tiny village truly belonged there. On audition day, the backstage area buzzed with excitement. Dancers stretched. Singers warmed up. Magicians practiced tricks. Everyone hoped their lives were about to change forever. Daniel stood silently in one corner. A producer approached him. "How are you feeling?" He smiled nervously. "I keep thinking about my parents." Moments later, his name echoed through the speakers. It was time. He walked onto the famous AGT stage. The audience applauded politely. Simon Cowell looked at the card in front of him. "So, tell us your name." "My name is Daniel Santos." "And where are you from?" "I'm from a small fishing village in the Philippines." The audience applauded warmly. Simon leaned forward. "What do you do for a living?" "I help my father fish, and sometimes I sing in restaurants." Simon nodded. "And why America's Got Talent?" Daniel took a deep breath. "My parents sacrificed everything for me. I want to give them a better life." The audience immediately fell silent. Simon smiled gently. "Good luck." Daniel closed his eyes. The first piano notes began. He chose one of Elvis Presley's most beloved songs. His voice emerged quietly at first. Pure. Warm. Honest. Within seconds, conversations backstage stopped. Camera operators stared. Audience members leaned forward. The judges exchanged surprised glances. As the chorus arrived, Daniel's voice exploded with breathtaking power. Every note carried years of struggle, sacrifice, hope, and love. It wasn't simply an Elvis impression. It became something entirely his own. The emotion was undeniable. People in the audience wiped away tears. One elderly woman pressed both hands against her heart. He wasn't just singing. He was telling his family's story. Simon Cowell, known worldwide for his brutally honest criticism, slowly raised his eyebrows. He looked toward the other judges. His expression said everything. He couldn't believe what he was hearing. By the final chorus, the audience erupted before the song even ended. People jumped to their feet. The applause grew louder and louder. Daniel sang the final note. Silence. Then an explosion of cheers shook the theater. The entire audience stood. The judges stood. Backstage contestants stood watching the monitors. Daniel lowered his microphone. Tears filled his eyes. For a few emotional seconds, nobody spoke. Finally, Simon reached for his microphone. "You know." He paused. "I've heard thousands and thousands of singers." The audience waited. But every once in a while someone walks onto the stage and reminds us why we still love this show. Thunderous applause interrupted him. Simon continued. "You didn't copy Elvis. You honored him. And somehow, you also made that song completely yours." Daniel struggled to hold back tears. He simply whispered, "Thank you." One judge said she felt every word despite not even focusing on the lyrics. Another praised his humility. Another called it one of the most emotional auditions of the season. Then came the voting. The first judge smiled. Yes. The audience cheered. The second judge. Absolutely yes. More cheering. The third. 1,000 times yes. Daniel covered his face. Finally, Simon smiled. I think America is going to love you. It's a very easy yes. For yes. The audience erupted once again. Daniel fell to his knees. He looked toward the ceiling, quietly thanking God. Backstage, producers hugged him. Contestants congratulated him. But the moment he treasured most happened only minutes later. His parents appeared on a video call. His mother was crying. His father struggled to speak. Finally, he smiled. I told you. Dreams give families hope. Daniel cried harder than ever before. His audition quickly spread across the internet. Millions watched within days. People from every continent shared his performance. Comments described how his voice brought comfort during difficult times. Some viewers said they called their parents after watching him. Others said they decided never to give up on their own dreams. Daniel had become far more than a contestant. He became a symbol of perseverance. Although the competition became tougher with every round, he continued performing with honesty rather than trying to impress people with complicated tricks or flashy performances. Each song reflected another chapter of his life. Every performance reminded audiences that true greatness comes not from perfection but from sincerity. Whether he won the competition or not became almost unimportant. He had already achieved something greater. He had inspired millions. He returned home months later to the same small fishing village where everything had started. This time, however, hundreds of neighbors gathered to welcome him home. Children who once laughed at his singing now proudly asked for photographs. His old music teacher hugged him tightly. His parents stood quietly in the crowd.